If you keep starting and stopping your training, this video is for you. I want to take you through 7 mindset shifts that help me to stay more consistent, keep progressing in the gym, and at the same time feel better about making progress, getting more consistent, and improving my strength and the way I look in the gym. So stick around and use those 7 mindset shifts that help me to help you to achieve your fitness goals. So number one mindset shift that I had was from all or nothing mentality. So that's a very common thing amongst gym goers. So if you kind of start the week well and you go to the gym on Monday, Tuesday, then you have a rest on Wednesday, and then on Thursday you have an office meeting and you cannot hit the gym, then you start thinking, duck that, it doesn't work, it's not worth it, I'm struggling to keep up with the routine. And then you just decide to say like, duck that, I'm going for takeaway, I'll get some chocolate, I don't really care because it doesn't get me anywhere. So that's one of the biggest struggles that I had, because I have that all or nothing mentality with pretty much every aspect of my life. So, and the funniest thing for me to think about that is if you crash your car and you're like looking at it, I may just set it on fire. I crashed it anyway, so let it burn. So that's the way I see about that all or nothing mentality. Now, you can change your mindset by simply thinking, what can I do towards my goals that day? So like I said, Monday, Tuesday, you're consistent, eating well. Wednesday, rest day, you're still eating well, all good. Thursday, you have a meeting and you cannot commit to the gym. Then you're like, it doesn't matter, I will not make progress. So instead of doing that, you may just look for like a smaller win. And that can be, I cannot physically make to the gym, but I can do some push-ups, some squats, some sit-ups. I get some movement in my day and still stick with my diet. So doing even the tiniest thing to make sure that you're still working towards your goal and you're building the habit and you're getting the repetitions in. And it's not about what's the best thing to do about on that day. It's more about how can I stay consistent and not fall off my routine due to some little barriers that I came across. Number 2 mindset shift is showing up is more important than perfection. So it kind of feeds up from all or nothing mentality, because normally when you fall off the wagon, you just end up doing whatever you feel like and instead you have to think of showing up is the most important task. So I may not be able to do a perfect routine. Let's say my shoulder hurts a little bit and I have like an upper body session planned. I cannot do half of the exercises because my shoulder hurts, so I may just skip gym whatsoever. But what you could just simply change your mind, it's I will show up in the gym, I will still do my session, I will adapt it around the movements that I cannot do, and I will incorporate some mobility to get my shoulder better. So you're actually showing up and doing some work, even though it's not exactly as per your training plan. But the most important part is to obviously show up and stay consistent and get into the habit of going to the gym, even though when the life is not perfect. And that's why these two, like all or nothing mentality and then showing up, it kind of very same alongside one another, and they feed into one onto another, because like all or nothing mentality and perfectionism are like very closely linked together. So these are couple of things that we need to shift our mindset to, and we just need to think of what we can do, even though it's not perfect, just to make even the tiniest amounts of progress. And that perfectly leads us to mindset shift number 3. We need to prioritize discipline over motivation. So I think you see that a lot on internet nowadays, that everyone's saying discipline, discipline, discipline. So it feels like motivation is almost means nothing. But to be honest, like motivation will get you moving and it will get you to the gym the first few times, but discipline will keep you going. So what is discipline? Like a motivation is something that's an emotion that you get a short burst of, and it gets you to move and do things at a time. However, the motivation is it fades. If you're a bit tired, you're less motivated to work towards your goals. But discipline is a little bit more something that you know that you have a goal and you have to work towards it regardless how you feel. So the discipline would be you wake up, you meant to go to the gym 6 a.m., you feel like shit, you don't want to go to the gym, so you end up falling back asleep. Discipline would be kicking yourself out of that bed, putting gym clothes on and going to the gym because you say to yourself, yes, I am lazy today, but I got goals in my mind that I want to achieve, that I need to stay consistent for and get working towards my goals. And that's exactly the mindset that we want to get in. And look, even though it's not going to be a perfect routine, it doesn't matter. The most important part is that you're showing up and you're staying consistent and you're not relying on motivation. And one of the easiest ways to stay more disciplined is through changing how you feel about fitness. So instead of, that's the mindset shift number 4, by the way. So changing from thinking about fitness as a task, as something that you have to do. So instead of thinking that, oh, I have to do this, otherwise X, Y, and Z will happen, you have to think more of, I'm a person, I'm an individual who's taking care of its health, who's pursuing his goals no matter what, and I am a gym goer. I'm not someone who goes to the gym. I am a person who's a gym goer. I identify as a gym goer because it's very popular to identify as someone nowadays. So you may identify as a gym goer. I think that's one of the best identities to be at. And having that mindset shift, like it will change the way you talk about the gym. It will change the way about how you feel. And I'm saying gym, it doesn't have to be gym. Like it might be running, it might be cycling, whatever you enjoy. But gym is a good example because we are sitting in one. And that's exactly why you should change your mindset and identify as a gym goer. One of the examples that I can feed into that from a personal trainer, I'm technically a business and a gym owner. So instead of thinking about individual clients that I need to train, I have to change my mindset into being a business owner, which means I need to operate my studio as a business. And that means I should be technically identifying as a businessman, but you can probably hear a bit of friction in my voice saying that, as this is something that I'm working on. So you may be working on your identity as a gym goer. And that leads us into mindset shift number 5. So you should stack wins instead of putting pressure on yourself. So what do I mean by that? Try to celebrate even the smallest wins. So if it comes to your diet and you need to make some progress with your diet, try celebrating even the tiniest changes that you did. So for example, you may have eaten a little bit more fruit in the last week than you did before, or you even eating a little bit more protein than you did before. This is small wins. And for example, what normally people are thinking of, they feel like they have a pressure. Oh, I have to eat healthy. I have to make sure all my meals are healthy. And it doesn't always work, especially if you're looking for a long period of time, because it gets you into an unhealthy mindset. So if you're thinking about stacking small wins, it could be coming back to the before. It could be that I did go to the gym on that Thursday, or I gone for a walk, or I did some exercise. This is a small win. And eventually those small wins stack one on top of another and you completely change your lifestyle, which feels a lot less effort. Like it feels like it requires a lot less effort, than trying to completely change your lifestyle and put the pressure on yourself that if you're not doing this, I'm failing. But if you ate a couple of slices of pizza yesterday, you're not failing. You come back to your diet. I come back to eating that chicken breast or whatever, and this is a small win. So it doesn't matter that I fell off. There's no pressure. I need to look for the next tiny improvement, next small win that I need to make sure that over the whole lifestyle, you're working towards the goal that you have in mind, whether that's six pack, whether it's like 40 centimeter biceps, whatever it is. And that leads us to mindset shift number 6: adjust, don't abandon. I gave a bit of an example previously with the other mindset shifts. So if you have like a tiny bit of injury, like a niggle in your shoulder, and you cannot go through that bench press routine that you planned, I'm sure there is some exercises that you can adjust and still go through the routine to make that shoulder better, to keep you adapting. So if life throws you some stones in your way, you kind of step them over them rather than tripping and falling every single time. So by adjusting your routine to sometimes lifestyle getting in the way is one of the best ways to get towards your fitness goals. Because the more you practice that, the less you feel like you're failing, and the more you adjust your lifestyle, and the more challenges you overcome, and you make fitness or healthy eating part of your lifestyle. To give you one good example, for me, my left knee is quite dodgy. I quite frequently get problems with that. And then if I plan a training routine around squats, it's very unlikely that I'll be able to do that when my knee flares up. So I adjust and I do trap bar deadlift, which still works my legs, still works my body in almost similar way as a squat, but I have a reduced range of motion in the trap bar deadlift, so I don't need as much knee flexion, and I can still get stronger even though my injuries are getting a little bit in the way. And that applies same to the diet. If you're in a hotel, there's nothing to eat, but you look how to adjust. Maybe there is some higher protein meals that you can choose. Maybe you can pick like certain parts of the meal and combine a healthy meal. The amount of examples it's infinite because it really depends on your lifestyle and what life throws at you. So make sure that you're adjusting to your routine towards your goals instead of completely abandoning your goals. Number 7 is the most important one that I ever gone through. And that's coming from a comedian, Jimmy Carr. So I watched his talk, well, his heckles, and sometimes he answers questions in a very serious manner. So one of the people in the audience asked him, what's your best advice for life? And he said, do things for your future self. And I absolutely love that. That gets you out of relying on your everyday emotions to adjust your lifestyle to how you feel. Like, for example, now I'm quite hungry. There's a Tesco nearby, and I would be quite keen on having a Tesco meal deal. However, I know that tomorrow's Modi will hate me for doing that. So I will go home, I will cook a couple of chicken breasts from the freezer, and I will have a chicken breast wrap, which is much better than having a Tesco meal deal with a sandwich and some whatever, some chocolate bars or whatever it would come with, or whatever I would fancy. But keep in mind that you are not, like, by you working out and eating healthy now, you're not doing that for you at the moment. You're doing that for the future self, for you tomorrow, for you a month from now. And you want to make sure that in the future, you will be able to thank yourself for what you did yesterday. And to be honest, that's why we end up in the situations that we are not happy with, because we are not prioritizing our future. We are prioritizing our current emotions. So if I'm thinking about my future self, there is things that are very challenging to do now, but it will make it easier for tomorrow. So remember that you are working for your future self rather than um, you are the present, and every little bit of effort feeds in for a better tomorrow or for a better year, 2026, whatever you have in mind. So these mindset shifts is something that I gone through myself a lot personally, and I still do go through them on a regular basis. I'm a same human being. Sometimes I'm a little bit lazy to work out. Sometimes I'm a little bit lazy to make that call that I have for my business. But we all have to shift our mindsets towards our goals and put in the effort and try to celebrate even the smallest wins or smallest achievements or smallest changes that we make, because in the grand scheme of things, eventually they will have a compounding effect and will really lead us to the result that we want. If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you enjoyed this one, and let me know down in the comments if you have been struggling with your mindset